much. We have so many other topics to get to. We want to talk about, of course, traffic not the only thing causing problems in Austin. As the city is growing, home prices are also on the rise.
Affordable housing programs are one of the major issues on the bond in November. Those programs received $55 million back in 2006, and this year they're asking for $78 million more. The programs aim to create more rental homes for low and moderate income people in Austin, as well as repairs for existing affordable housing here in the capital city.
And now let's talk about that affordable housing. Why is this such an important issue for voters, Councilmember Cole?
Well, maintaining Austin's affordability is always a top priority, and we recognize that as we become a #1 city in so many categories. The real fear is that the average Austinite will not be able to live here, and we do not want to turn into two Austins where some people are really struggling and others are not. And so this is one initiative by the city for affordable housing to help people not lose their homes. So it is maintained for investments in your home like leaky roofs and other repairs, and it is highly leveraged with federal money, so it goes a very long way. The question about why did the number go up? Well, it went up because we're receiving less money from the federal government, and keeping Austin affordable is becoming less affordable. So we want to try to maintain that, and we also recognize that we have a significant part of our population that has no home at all, that we have to try to provide for to move them to self-sufficiency, and that is our homeless population. And some of this money will go to actually help that category of individuals, or our citizens.
Anyone else want to dive in?
Well, I think with both the affordable housing and the transportation bond, you're seeing that Austin voters are being asked to, again, invest money in ways that used to be paid for by other levels of government. You know, we didn't used to have to spend local money to build, repairs on the interstate highway. So in addition to the affordable housing, one of the things that having this money locally allows us to do is help people afford to live in the neighborhoods where they want to live, and allow our central city neighborhoods to remain mixed income, to remain affordable to places, so that you can combat gentrification, you can create opportunities for people to live closer to the center city, which is also a way of dealing with the transportation issues that Terry was talking about. If you have more people living in those central city zip codes, then you have less people on Burnett Road and Lamar and all these other thoroughfares.
And I want to add that we have to remember that our city is an asset, and it's a major asset just like our home, and if we don't protect it or maintain it, it will deteriorate. And so that's something that all the bonds do, and not only the affordable housing bonds, but the transportation bonds and the many others.
All right, thank you all. Change could be coming to the way Austin voters choose the people who represent them on the council.
And right now, all 7 council members and the mayor are elected at large, chosen by everybody in the city. But 2 proposals on this November ballot aim to steer Austin towards a brand new method. First is the 10-1 plan. It calls for 10 single-member districts divided geographically. The mayor would be the only position chosen at large by everybody. The other option before voters is the 8-2-1 plan. That calls for 8 single-member districts and 2 council members elected at large along with the mayor. The 2 plans can be a bit confusing, but bottom line, what's in it for the people of Austin, Mike?
Well, this is the 7th time that citizens of Austin have voted on single-member districts. This is the first time you've had 2 different plans to choose from. 10 years ago, we had a plan that was largely identical to Prop 4 on this ballot, and that got 43% of the vote. All of those previous elections have been on regular city election dates. They haven't been on November on a presidential election. So, 4 out of 5 of the people coming to the polls are not going to have voted in the last city election. They may not have ever voted in a city election. So it's going to be interesting to see how they react to those 2, and there's also 2 other propositions that deal with changing the way that council members are elected. But the rationale, of course, is that if you have districts, you have more broad geographic representation, you can get a more proportional looking council, and the city's just much larger than it used to be, so each council member will have a smaller set of voters to be responsive to. The contrary position has always been that there's fear that having a single-member council will devolve to what people call ward politics, where the only things that happen are things that the one council member in charge of a particular neighborhood is willing to support.
All right, let's go to Josh Hinkle now, who has been listening to some things that you audience members have been talking about on any of the issues we've just been discussing. Josh?
Right, with some of these bond proposals, some people feel like other services like police, fire, and EMS weren't addressed and funded as appropriately as they should have been because these other items were so heavily funded.
There's never enough money to go around, is there?
Is there?
There really isn't, but we did a $1.5 billion needs assessment for the entire city. And public safety is funded, parks are funded, libraries are funded, and it's just a careful presentation through citizens. There is a Citizens Bond Committee that met for 13 times, special called meetings and other meetings to try to whittle it down so we did not have a tax increase and we're within our bonding capacity. Would we like to do more for public safety? Absolutely. Libraries and parks.
I would just add, I was on the bond committee in 2006, the last time we had, and that was a much larger package, and it did involve a tax increase, and there still wasn't enough money back then.
Well, what I'd like to add, this is exactly like your personal budget. There's never enough money in your personal budget to do everything you want to do and save to boot. So I can put it on that very practical level. There will always be more needs than we have funds to fund them. So you really do have to prioritize. It is a priority of scarce resources.
Good way to put it. Josh, any more questions?
There's some about single-member districts. People are wondering, with geographic representation, there are populations like the Asian American population that might not have a large population but is spread out across the entire city that could be left out under that plan.
That's why you have a hybrid plan on the ballot, or at least one of the reasons, is that there are communities that aren't necessarily geographically clustered but deserve proportional representation on the council, and that having that at-large seat creates an opportunity for them.